Firstly, American networks just have a higher budget, so they can afford to take a risk on a show that NBC will ultimately cancel. Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to TV. And given all of the TV shows and programs that both countries develop, this video could have been 50 years long. So I'm not going to devote it to looking at specific programs as such, but really how British and American TV differs in a broad sense. Furthermore, as a disclaimer, because this video might leave you with more questions than answers, then it is possible that this video might become a two-part mini-series. I'm just trying to shoehorn in TV references. And so let me greenlight this episode that this is a sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who makes a noise. I'll stop that now. In which I look at 5 ways that British and American TV is very different. We can't talk about the differences in British and American television without talking about TV licensing. In Britain, a TV license is required by any household that is watching or recording live TV in real time, whether it be terrestrial, satellite, cable, or internet. Now, as of last year, a colour TV license cost each household just shy of £160. Or, to simplify things, about £3 a week, and if you're not British and that didn't simplify things, that's roughly $4 American a week. And the British government uses this money to fund the BBC. So any American fans of Top Gear, Doctor Who, Planet Earth, Peaky Blinders, Sherlock, and of course All Creatures Great and Small can thank the British public for funding them, although not me because I haven't lived there in 12 years. Arguably, the closest thing that America has to the BBC is PBS. And as it happens, PBS's masterpiece is essentially British TV, just without the crap bits. However, PBS is not funded by a TV license since Americans aren't required to have one. Instead, PBS and other public distributors are funded by things like pledge drives and its own member stations, and grants from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and donations. And that's why you'll often hear things like, "This period drama was brought to you in association with the Lawrence Brown Foundation." That was a dream I had. 2 of the most well-known TV shows to have originated on American public television are Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Sesame Street, both of which were children's shows set in a street, but only one of which became big in the UK, Sesame Street. Why didn't we get Mr. Rogers in the UK? Anyway, at this point, true to PBS form, I'm going to hand over to Laura Linney to take us into the next segment of our show. We don't have Laura Linney. I thought you were on that, so I've got to do it. After moving to After moving to the United States, there were culture shocks that came to the fore through watching television. And one of the biggest things that stood out to me was just how frequently American TV shows went to a commercial break. And at first I had to wonder if I was just making all of this up. I mean, my brain was in overdrive. I'd just landed in the bountiful kingdom of Indianapolis. But it turns out it's true. Within every hour of broadcast television, there's about 14 minutes of commercial breaks. And being from the UK, I wasn't quite used to this, because guess how many ads there are in an hour on the BBC? 0. This is also a Periscope. This is one of the benefits of the TV license. The BBC doesn't need advertising in order to operate. But there are other terrestrial channels in the UK that aren't governed by the BBC and aren't funded by the TV license. But even so, the likes of ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5 average between about 7 to 10 minutes of adverts every hour. And the difference is really noticeable, and I think that the biggest thing with that is in the United States, it can often feel like they go to an ad break at very inopportune moments during a show. And this out of nowhere approach to advertising has this weird effect on me to where the continuity of the show is ruined. When I moved here, the 648th question I had was, where are all the soap operas? Which was just one place behind where is the soap. And it turns out it's not that America doesn't have soap operas, it's that virtually no one watches them. For example, throughout the last decade, The Young and the Restless was watched by about 3% of Americans, and this is the country's most watched soap. In the UK, we're a bit more obsessed. Firstly, these aren't daytime affairs. Our soap operas actually have prime-time evening slots. And get this, while viewing figures have been dropping, episodes of Coronation Street, which is a show that's been running for 60 years, are still watched by roughly 8 million people in the UK. That's about 12%. And when I were a kid, they were even more popular. In 1986, the Christmas Day episode of EastEnders was watched by half the nation. And no, we weren't on lockdown. Oh, and speaking of Christmas, that brings us on to this. There was one other televisual phenomenon that I was surprised to find America didn't consider a televisual phenomenon, and that is TV Christmas specials. Now, admittedly, this could be something to do with the fact that the United States dominates the market when it comes to Christmas films. It's not that American TV shows don't have Christmas-themed episodes or episodes set at Christmas. It's that A, they often don't air on Christmas Day, and B, there isn't this sort of extra nationwide collective anticipation for the shows in question. In Britain, it's quite a bit different because you'll have shows that run throughout the entire year, but the exciting part is they have a Christmas special coming, and everybody gets what they want. For the public, it's a really exciting day, and for the broadcasters, it's a huge ratings boost. There's even a Wikipedia page devoted to some of the shows in question, and it confirms my suspicions that comedies make up the majority of these Christmas specials. And in many ways, I'm surprised that America places less of an emphasis on this, given that it goes much bigger on both Christmas and TV than arguably any country in the world. When it comes to television, the question I get most from Americans is, what do you think of Monty Python? But also, why do British shows only have 6 episodes? And it's true, an entire series, or season as they would say in the United States, is roughly between 6 and 10 episodes. Whereas some of the big TV shows in the United States have anywhere between 21 and 1 million episodes. And as for why British TV shows have so few episodes, that's hard for me to answer. I don't work in the TV industry yet. But from what I can gather, it comes down to a couple of reasons. Firstly, American networks just have a higher budget, so they can afford to take a risk on a show that NBC will ultimately cancel. Secondly, and I can relate to this as a one-man YouTuber, British shows don't usually have really large creative teams, especially not compared to the United States, and a perfect way to highlight this is to compare the UK and US versions of The Office. Consider this. The original UK version was written by just Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. During its run, the US version had no fewer than 33 writers. And I suppose one of the benefits of having more people work on it is you can churn more material out. On the other hand, am I crazy? That many people with that many ideas does leave the door open for inconsistent narratives and bloated storytelling. But for what it's worth, I like The American Office, seasons 1 to 3. Okay, let's finish with a rapid fire round of which country does it better. Panel shows, right, so America doesn't really do panel shows as such, and anybody who's watching this who's thinking, what is a panel show? A panel show is that type of show where you've got on either side of the presenter 3 or 4 comedians whose job it is to be funny. The real job is to score points, but it's sort of meaningless to the whole thing. They just have to be funny. And you always see the same faces on these British panel shows. The short answer is Britain does this better. Who has the whitest teeth? Clearly people on American TV. This speaks to the general idea that American TV personalities are sort of perfect and were chiseled out of marble. We don't have to worry about that in Britain because, well, most of us don't have teeth. And also, because the BBC doesn't have to worry about ratings, it can cast people with faces like this. There was a hint. Who does reality TV better? Goodness, I don't watch it. I can say this though, I think both countries do it in more or less equal abundance, but I think they're both into sort of different shows. I mean, reality TV is reality TV in that it doesn't represent reality. But I have noticed that once a year on British Twitter, Celebrity Love Island will be trending at the top. I think actually, pound for pound, British people might be more obsessed with reality TV. Most late night chat shows, I think the United States wins this one. It has more chat show hosts than it has women, right? And they're all called Jimmy. But we have Graham Norton, and I like that format a lot because for anyone who's not aware, what they do on that show is they put all of the celebrity guests on one couch together, and you get this unusual mix of celebrities, right? You might have Harrison Ford and Sharon from EastEnders. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below your favorite British or American television show, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond. A big shout out to all of my patrons who make these videos possible. If you would like to become a patron of Lost in the Pond, you can do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond. Until next time, goodbye.